I've logged in here as Garth, and this is his welcome screen, or the standard welcome screen for Office 365. And you can see a bit about him here. The notifications is saying actually Garth has just come back from holiday, and he needs to turn that off. And shows him the applications that he has available to him, and Garth is an administrator, so he has access to everything in this particular tenant, and also just some recent documents that he's been working on. And so we can click in here to the admin console, or we can use the grid as it's known up here, which also gives him that applications. And this is just an orientation which is always available. The grid gives you your tiled interface for your applications. So if we just look briefly through the administrative console, so this is the new admin console for Office 365. As a cloud service, it's constantly being developed, and you can still access under here the old admin console, but it's being evolved, and it's evolving over time. And here is the dashboard. It just shows you sort of some key highlights of your tenant and what you might want to access quickly. So any service health warnings, active users, it's just a high level. And then down the side, obviously, you can manage your users, where you can add or remove users, or manage their access. Groups, where you can create groups and manage that at a sort of a global level, and we'll look at a bit more in detail at groups later. Managing resources within your business, rooms, sites, however you want to manage it. And then there's areas for billing and support, which if you're buying the service via Claranet, that we would be able to support you with, but it is where you would provision your licenses to your users. It isn't from a global view. And then here, the settings for your complete tenant. So as we saw the tile view, it is also possible maybe to create a tile that links through to an HR hub or some site that's really useful for you, and you can create customized tiles in here that you can push out to your users. And then at the bottom here, we've got the report section, which like we saw a highlight in the dashboard, actually shows the activity within your tenant of how much people are using email versus Yammer. And this can really help as a view to sort of how your Office 365 deployment is being used and utilized in your business. Are you seeing the productivity gains that you might hope to achieve? And then lastly, the health section shows any issues that are potentially being sort of seen within your tenant. As a demo tenant, this is a demonstration of what a warning would look like, and the type of information it might provide, of when they saw it, the issues that are going on, and any issues you might want to workarounds you might want to put in place. So Microsoft are very transparent in the way the system is deployed, and so that information is available to you at all times. And then lastly is the admin console. So Microsoft, it's very much a bundle of services that have been brought together, and you can still access your Exchange, your Skype for Business, your SharePoint, Yammer, and other admin consoles for those particular services here down the bottom.
Okay, that's great, thank you. I'm sorry about the noise outside. Moving on, I don't think I'm alone in saying that a lot of us today struggle with the vast quantity of email that we get daily and how we actually manage that. So in what ways does Office 365 enable easier management and help us to focus more?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think there's two views of looking at that. One is from the IT administration point of view of how you're managing that Exchange service, and then what you see from the user. So here we can see the Exchange admin console, which will be quite familiar to anybody that's got or is using Exchange 2013 or 2016. And it's very much web-based, and you can manage your users, you can manage their mailboxes, you can set delegation rights and all the type of stuff that you would expect to see within the console, or manage your quarantine and your spam filters. But it's probably worth noting that Office 365, although it comes with a number of those features, it can be integrated with other scanning services such as Semantic to give you a higher level of protection, and that's where you would sort of configure those lower levels of Exchange here. And then if we look at, this is Garth and his user, and the type of things that he can see within his environment. So this is the OWA interface, so just part of integrated within the Office 365 experience from a web interface point of view, but obviously as part of the package you could get the complete Office suite, and you could integrate this with Outlook, but for simplicity we're just using the one interface today. And what we can see here is this sort of clean tiled interface, but there are a number of elements that really help Garth in this case to be focused. And I think too that I just want to draw people's attention to, which I think really help in that removing the noise of email and work to allow you to focus on the things you need to get done. And that is, and here we can see this email is the @ symbol, and then here we can just see the like symbol. So as Microsoft add more sort of social features to standard services, it just allows that facility for users just to simplify the way they work. So using the @ symbol in front of someone's username draws that email to their attention. So here, Katie sent Garth an email, and she said, you know, are you ready for the demo? And using the @ symbol means it's drawing it to his attention. So Garth is just looking at his emails, can see that these two emails here have an action for him. And so using that within your business and educating your users in how to do that can help them be a lot more productive and just get through their emails much quicker. And if we look into this particular email, what we can see in this thread is there was an action for Garth, which we can see highlighted here, but we can also see in this thread that actually there was a like, so someone sort of responded to this email and they liked it. But in this case, at that point, they responded sort of their endorsement of the idea in an email, but without actually adding to that thread and that conversation and the noise that goes on. So I think there are two really interesting features of how users can focus on what they need to do and how they can engage with one another. And then another thing about Office 365 is the ability to get hold of contextual information. So this is just a view of Delve Analytics, which is showing Garth how he's engaging with Katie. So he can see here sort of the regularity of emails sent and received, and the sort of expected time in his experience of their response time. Now, obviously, this is a demo. He's not particularly active, but you can sort of see that actually in a larger organization or in a more active organization, it will start to provide you information as a user about how you're working and how you're engaging with the others. And also the information maybe on Katie is available right here within the interface, so I can see her core contact details and the organizational chart and just some other useful facts, all in the context of that one email. So I have the information to hand, and that really allows me to be more focused on what I want to do and how I need to sort of work with the people around me.
Fantastic. That's really interesting. I've not seen a lot of that before, so I think that's really good. But also, a lot of people think Office 365 is just about email and the Office applications there, but obviously there's a lot of other features out there. So can you give us a little preview of those?
Yeah, I think some really interesting things that we're sort of seeing come from Microsoft is a cloud service. What they're able to do is sort of add these, they're not really tools, they're sort of facilities or ways of working which were not really possible when this technology was deployed on site. So the integration of Exchange and Skype for Business and SharePoint and OneDrive together with these new pieces of functionality powered underneath by the cloud, which can learn and present that information to people, really enables these tools. And I think 3 or 4 of those tools that we're looking at is, I think there's clutter within email, which is very interesting, and then the concept of groups and how that's led on to the development of Planner, and then also how we fit Yammer into that scenario as Microsoft bought that social enterprise tool, and how that can really add value to a business. So I think clutter is a really interesting piece where the cloud, if you will, learns about what is important to you as a user, so it's personalizing the experience. And so the different emails that I or you would find interesting, it keeps in your inbox, but stuff which it knows maybe you don't read, or you delete quickly, or you don't really react to, it moves those into the clutter folder. So it's not deleting them, it's just, according to the name, decluttering that out of your inbox to allow you to be focused on the mails that you need to react to. When you couple that with the app functionality and that Delve Analytics, that really can help users be more productive. But also in the whole concept of removing that I suppose noise from your inbox is the idea of groups, which really sort of draws together those services and creates the sort of this abstract concept of a group where it brings together those features into one central place. So the group connects a team or maybe a project together and creates them their own conversation area. It creates a space on SharePoint for them to store their files. It gives it a shared calendar and a shared notebook. And so here we can see these conversations are happening within the context of this project. So your email can be sort of separated from this type of conversation. You can share all these emails, this conversation into your email, but ideally you'd leave it there. And it also means that if we're working on a project or within a team, the information that you input and participate in is not lost as and when users leave or change teams or leave the organization. Their input, their value, that conversation is still part of this group, so it's not lost. And also those users are able just to collaborate in a different way. So as they're developing ideas, instead of that being on an email thread and they're sort of emailing version 1, version 2, version 3 of files, they can be stored in that central location, and as we gain knowledge as a team together, it can all be part of a central OneNote where you can just keep notes which are shared amongst those teams. So here they've got the brilliant ideas that they've had for their new product, and that's available for all. So everyone can put one in as and when they want it, and even do that when they're mobile on the train. And then a recent feature that Microsoft have developed is this new service called Planner. And Planner is very interesting in the sense of as the groups have been used by teams or projects to sort of work on stuff, the natural thing is to want to sort of delegate tasks and manage that sort of task management. And so Microsoft have developed this new tile-based task management system, which is quite similar to some other stuff on the market, but that's completely integrated with as part of a group within the system. So here Katie can see the tasks that she's got to do across multiple different plans, or she can go and look at the new products plan to see the individual tasks and map it out as part of that group. And this gives you that high-level visibility of what's going on, what's being tracked, and then can present that visibility up inside the organization. So people can work, they can collaborate, they can allocate tasks, and it really allows people to be more productive and more accountable for the work that they need to do. But as groups is great for teams and sort of for more focused projects, I would suggest. Yammer really allows you to open up the conversation more widely within inside your business. So being an enterprise social network, it allows for open conversation, both sort of that coffee machine type of conversation you can have online, particularly for organizations that have got a dispersed user base. And for just, again, moving some of that chat into a different context and away from your inbox. Again, trying to keep your users focused on what they need to be doing. So here we've got a chat group on setting up a Friday charity cake sale, and instead of that clustering up your inbox, you can keep those conversations here. They've got the facility to do polls, invite people, or close it down more. So really just opening up the conversation across the organization and keeping that information outside of the inboxing and allowing them to be more focused on what they need to do. So I hope that gives you a sort of a good flavor of the different features that are now available that just make Office 365 a really compelling solution over what the standalone products it was in the past.
Okay, that's great, and obviously it's going to help with version control because that's a big thing, having files flying around. So thank you. That's a big part of Office 365, as you mentioned, as you touched on. Earlier you mentioned Delve, and that's been discussed quite a lot. Could we have a further look into Delve and see what features that offers for everybody?
Yes, so Delve is an interesting, so we saw it in the context of email. Actually, it goes beyond that and provides users with some real information around how they're working and how they're engaging within inside an organization. And as your files are stored within OneDrive or on SharePoint, as you open those out to groups or to for input from other people inside the organization, Microsoft's cloud can learn about what is important to you. So if you're working in marketing, sort of marketing content might be important to you. If you're in sales, you might want battle cards or information on the competition. And Delve learns what's important to you and presents it in this sort of tiled view of sort of the most relevant content within inside your organization of what you want to see. So really enabling you to collaborate easily or to share information out to the group. But on top of that, it's this more sort of fully rounded out view of the individual's sort of time and how that time is spent. So enabling us to focus on the amount of hours we spend in meetings. And I think, I don't know whether anybody agrees, but I certainly feel like I spend a lot of my time in meetings or doing email and not enough hours on focus hours. So using Delve is just a helper and a pointer of how I can manage my own time and how I can manage the time of other people within my team, and just showing me how I'm connected and who I engage with inside the organization. So really just helping to make it more personal and enabling you to sort of have the information to make better decisions in how you work. And I think that the last thing I'd like to say is just that you can actually take this all mobile. So I think we've looked at the very browser-based experience, but actually Microsoft have their cloud first, mobile first mantra, that the applications that are available on iOS and Android really enable you to take this mobile so that you can get this information wherever you are and you can interact with the really amazing Office suite now that's available on mobile.
Okay, great stuff. So obviously, as we can see, there's a lot of data held within Office 365, and security is key for many businesses out there, especially when using cloud applications. So what protection is there out there for Office 365 users?
So I think there's two ways of looking at security and the type of questions that we see from customers. Is one about how do you manage that data as we sort of make it more open and people are able to share on different things. It's about how you control that from an IT perspective, and then the other question we get is around, can I trust Microsoft? So if we go to the Security and Compliance Center inside the Admin Console, this is really where Microsoft have consolidated a lot of the security settings within Office 365 so that as IT admins, people are able to set those permissions, what files are people able to access, what can you access, what content can and cannot leave the organization. And you could obviously couple this with other services from other organizations as well to increase that security. But also Microsoft is part of the Enterprise Mobility Suite, use a technology which is sort of based on the DRM technology that was used to sort of lock down MP3s or WMAs in the days gone past, to add that capability to your Office documents. So actually that Word document can only be opened by individuals within your domain. So even if the physical file leaves the corporate network, it cannot be opened or accessed. So it allows users to collaborate and be open, yet sort of restrict your data. But it's just a whole suite of tools, and it's really around how you want to use that inside your organization, and that's something that needs to be carefully considered. When we come to the question of, can we trust Microsoft? Microsoft have tried to be as open as possible around how this works, and so they have these two sites that we'll send out afterwards, but the first one is the Microsoft Trust Center, where they publish all the information you could ever want to know around their security and how they manage that and who has access to what and how they manage your data, and really answers any question you could have around their sort of security stance. And then that's simplified into sort of a number of top 10 lists that a lot of people have to ask. So I think they try to be as open as possible and secure that. And I think with the recent opening of the UK data center, that's a real good tick box for a lot of people.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. I think it's interesting to see the background of Office 365 and actually see it in action, as there are so many parts to it. So overall, in your opinion, how do you think businesses can make the most of what it has to offer? Because I think there's a lot of people out there that may be just using, say, a small fraction of it. So how can they actually, sort of develop all these tools and actually get them utilised within their company?
Yeah, thanks, Richard. I think for me, it's understanding those tools and how they work for you. They might not work for every organisation, but they are there, available and easy accessible for you. And actually working in partnership with someone like Claranet can help to sort of articulate. We can show you the best practice that we've got from different customers of how those tools can work within your business, whether it's to use OneDrive or SharePoint, and that's what we want to help our customers do. It can be quite difficult to, here is a very generic demo, and there's a lot of areas that we haven't gone into, but actually working in partnership, understanding the needs of our customers helps us articulate what are the most suitable elements for their business. And so, I think after this we're offering 30-minute consultations for customers that have attended the webinar that want to just talk through their own challenges, and then we can work with them to sort of see which bits would fit best for them, really. Yeah.
Okay, well, we've got a couple of questions in at the moment. If you've got any more questions, then please do type them into the chat box. That would be great. So thank you for the demo, firstly, Andrew. And if I can kick off with the questions. The first one that we've got there is, the admin panel looks a little confusing to me, so what support is out there?
Well, I think the admin panel, when you become familiar with it, is quite straightforward for you to use, but that's also one of the reasons why Claranet and Claranet SOHO want to enter that space, so that for those elements that you're not comfortable with, you've got a partner that you can work with and rely upon. And for some organisations, if you have an IT manager that's owning that, you've got the security of the fact that if they leave your business, you've actually got someone to fall back on. But a lot of the tools, once it's set up and it's working, actually, as long as that's done correctly, then there's not too much to worry about on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, thank you. And then we've got another one. This one's based around packages. So can you easily change packages between the business packages and the enterprise packages, the packages?
So there are many ways to buy Office 365. We offer Office 365 as part of what is known as the CSP program, and so we can offer our customers that flexibility. You can start off on Business Premium, and you can change to Enterprise, and we can facilitate that for you. If you buy directly and you use a license key, then that license key will lock you into 12 months for that particular license. So it really depends on how you buy it, but you can definitely get that flexibility working with a partner.
Okay, that's brilliant. And we've got another question in here. Do we lose the products already installed on our PCs, for example, Publisher, after starting with Office 365?
No, if you've already got the application, and those license keys are valid, but you would be able to take down it and use the full version of the Office suite, or you could upgrade as well the Publisher and move that to a subscription model. And I think that's part of how that fits for you, because you could obviously take an Office 365 SKU as well that doesn't include the full Office suite, if that's the right solution for you.
And there's a couple more in here. We'll just go through a couple more. So can we create a centralized data where everyone can access something like a file server?
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways of doing that. So everyone has access to their own personal OneDrive, so which is similar to other sort of cloud-hosted storage technology, and so users can do that. So therefore, it's stored and synced on your local machine or up to the OneDrive, or you can use SharePoint in that way and collaborating in your files in SharePoint, whether you put those into groups and use the group functionality, or put them into sort of a centralized document repository. We've not really gone through that today, but SharePoint here is very powerful in how you can facilitate that. And also you can remove the need to sort of email those documents, and you can also facilitate the ability to share those outside your organization as well.
Right, the last couple now. So is migration easy for a small office?
Well, obviously working with Claranet, then it's very easy, but depending on how much are you just syncing your email data, or are you taking your files as well, because that requires a little bit more planning. But I think one of the key things about the migration is actually how are you going to use that. The migration of email is relatively straightforward depending on where that data is, and you can either sort of upload it or you can sort of live sync it across. We can happily set up a call to talk you through that in more detail. And really it's a question of how of booking that in depending on how much downtime or no downtime you can take as a business. For a lot of our customers, particularly the larger enterprises, then obviously they can't tolerate any downtime, and we can just we can facilitate that as part of that migration, but that's what we'd work with you to sort of just go through the details.
Okay, brilliant. I've got another question here. That's great about Yammer, but there's only 10 of us, so how could we use it?
Yeah, I think Yammer is a really interesting solution, and really it's maybe not, as I said, Office 365 provides you a tool set, and it's really about understanding your business and understanding those tools and how they fit for your business. So for a small 10-person accountancy firm based in one office location where all the users come to that office, then Yammer may not be one of the tools that you might want to use for your business. But if you had the same scenario, 10 users, and they were dispersed across the country, then actually maybe Yammer would be a great space for people just to sort of build up the rapport they need with their users. And the other thing that Yammer does facilitate is the ability to create external groups. So it might not be about your internal users, it might be about your external users or your partners that you work with. But it is around understanding your business, and that's why we're offering this sort of 30-minute consultation to have a sort of a one-to-one chat about what your business is, what you're trying to achieve, and which of those tools that we feel that would help you most, so to sort of give you a starting point.
Okay, thank you very much. That's great. We've got a couple of more questions on here, which I think we will answer personally afterwards. So thank you, Andrew. I hope you've all found that very useful, an insight into Office 365. And as I said, the people that have asked some questions will actually send an email directly out to you with the answer, along with the details of the consultation slots we've got. So thank you everyone for your time, and I hope you all have a great afternoon.
Yeah, thank you.